Hello there, my name's Martin. I'm one of the instructors at Bay Valley Tech, and today I'm going over the Khan Academy project Make It Rain. So, something to note about this project, it is the project for the Arrays section of the Intro to JavaScript Drawings and Animation little mini course on Khan Academy. So you should have already gone through the arrays section, done some challenges, done some looping through arrays, modifying arrays. So arrays are a really fundamental part of programming. They simply put are just a way to store a whole bunch of data. And the cool thing that arrays do when they store data is they store it in order, and they give it an index. So I guess Khan Academy is still using var, but so we make an array, and the way we make an array is simply by having some variable being set to square brackets, and those square brackets can be empty. It will still create an array. It will create an empty array. So if we want to fill this array with a whole bunch of things, a whole bunch of values, so I'm filling it with a whole bunch of integers, we separate these by commas. And we also keep in mind that the index value of the array starts counting at 0 and not 1. So index 0 is the first item in an array. Okay? So the index will always be 1 less than the number of things in the array, if that makes sense. The index starts counting from 0 and not 1. So index 0 is 10, index 1 is 10, index 2 is 10, index 3 is 10, index 4 is 20, index 5 is 20, index 6 is 20, index 7 is 20, and the length of this array, the number of elements in this array, which you can find with the method array.length, would be 8. Okay? I guess they don't like it when we're doing this in Khan Academy. So this is just a JavaScript environment on Khan Academy. It's not everything. Just be aware of that. So, okay. So here in this project, they want us to practice making some arrays and using arrays. And they also want us to practice looping over arrays. They give us some instructions at the top. To make an animation of rain, it's best if we use arrays to keep track of the drops and their different properties. Start with this simple code and build on it to make a cool rain animation. Okay. They want us to add some more drops to the arrays. They give us some suggestions that we can do this by using a for loop and a random function at the beginning of the program, or using an array modification method during animation. You could even add more drops in response to user interaction. Okay. So they want us to add more drops to the arrays. That's the first thing they want us to do. So let's go ahead and work on that. That's our first step. So let's read through this function that we have here, and let's take a look at it. We have two arrays one array is called x positions, one's called y positions. So, I'm assuming this is where the starting position of the raindrops. Then we have a draw function. This is part of processing JS. Our draw functions will draw things over here in this box. And we have our background color, light blue. And then we have a no stroke function, which makes the raindrop circles have no outline. And then we have a fill color, and this will be the color of our raindrop. So commenting above these things, we can put quite simply, oops, what's going on here? Accidentally hit insert somewhere. Alright, so above this we'll put a comment. This sets the color of the raindrop. So our raindrop is just going to be an ellipse, and we use a for loop here, and we start at 0. So I equals 0, and then we're comparing I to the xpositions.length value. So basically this is going to loop through these arrays as many times as we have elements in the xpositions array, and then each time it's going to increment I by 1. So eventually I will not be less than the xpositions.length, and then the for loop will stop. So this goes through these arrays and makes sure to create an ellipse with the x positions and y positions relevant to what's listed in the array, and then it will update their y position, which makes them fall down. Right? Because as we add numbers to the y position, y0 is at the top of the screen. As we add to the y position, it will go down the screen until it's off the screen. So right now our code has a single little water droplet that falls from x200 y0 all the way down. It doesn't restart, doesn't do anything. So it's pretty boring. So the first thing we want to do is we want to add some more raindrops. So we'll add at 100, 150, 200, 250, 300, okay. And then we'll start all of them at y0. So we have 5 elements in each of these arrays. And we see it does this, oops, didn't mean to click that. We restart it. It just drops these 5 little raindrops down. So this doesn't really look like rain. Rain doesn't look like this. It doesn't fall uniformly. There aren't only 5 drops and then nothing. So there's a lot of things we could add to improve our function. So one of the things we can add is variable rain speed, which would be interesting. But as you can see, when we added a whole bunch of drops here, we had to add 4 drops, and we had to do it manually, and it was a big pain in the rear, and it was slow, and it's not very efficient. So what's a way that we could create a whole bunch of raindrops in these arrays and give them an X position, give them a Y position. And what's a way we could do that really quickly and we could make as many raindrops as we wanted? So I'll let you think about that for a second. What's something that helps us to repeat doing something over and over and over again? And if you said loops, that is the correct answer. So you can use any loop you want. We're going to use a for loop. And first things first, we're going to make these arrays empty. We're going to make them empty. And then we are going to go ahead and make an empty rain speed array while we're at it. You know, for some speed variation to kind of simulate foreground and background raindrops a little bit. And then we have a for loop. Let's say we want to make 50 raindrops at least. So how do we put in a whole bunch of elements to an array? Well, we use the push method here. And so let's look up, what does the push method do? You can look at documentation. You can also look at Mozilla Developer Network documentation. Oh, they don't have push here. Okay, well, let's just do mdn push. This is a method that you call on arrays. No, push event. So the push method adds one or more elements to the end of an array and returns the new length of the array. So if push is a return value, it will return the new length of the array, and it will also add an element to the end of the array. So in this for loop, which is going to loop 50 times, we want to push 50 things to the X and Y positions arrays, right? So how do we push something to the array? Well, we could make some sort of static predictable value based on I or something like that, but that's kind of boring. So we should use the random method. So we're going to use the random function, and random takes 2 arguments. And why did I say 0 and 400? Well, random does picks a random number, makes a random number between 2 values. And in this case, the 2 values I picked are 0 and 400. And why 0 and 400? Well, because this little box right here, this little box at the right side, it is 400 pixels wide. So this is 0 and this is 400. So it'll make the rain somewhere along here. If you wanted to make the rain only in the middle of the screen, you could change these numbers and you would see the result. So then we do random, and we could start all these at random 0 if we wanted, like random 0, 0 if we wanted. That would be kind of boring. And we could also start them, we could start the rain a little bit above the screen so that they fall kind of, they fall kind of like, you know, non-uniformly, if that makes sense. So now we have this nice little batch of raindrops, and they're falling, and each time they're kind of randomly falling. So that looks cool. And then I guess we could make this -100 if we wanted. So they're kind of spread out. So this little wave of rain. Alright, so there's 50 raindrops here. It's a lot of raindrops. And so basically this code right here is pushing all these numbers into these empty arrays and then drawing all the circles for it, running through this draw function a whole bunch of times, updating the Y position each time so that the rain falls down the screen. Okay, but it still doesn't look like rain. It only goes once. It's just 50 raindrops. They kind of fall down in one big chunk wave, and then that's it. So how do we get the rain to loop? How do we get the rain to continue to, you know, fall repeatedly? So that's a pretty good question. And we want to think about what is it that makes the rain fall in the first place? The thing that makes the rain fall is this right here. This right here, which is adding 5 each time to Y position, the Y position element, right? And so we have this big array of numbers which determines the Y position of the ellipse, the raindrop that we're drawing. And each time we loop through here, it is, oops, don't want to do that. Each time we loop through here, it is redrawing the ellipse as this function loops and updating its position on this box. So this right here is what's making the rain fall. So we want to add probably an if statement. I believe we can add an if statement. It might not be the best thing to add, but we'll add it anyway. An if statement. Where are we going to add the if statement? Well, we are going to add the if statement at the beginning of this for loop, and we are going to do a little test. So if Y position I is greater than 400, then set Y position I to 0. And this is just, I'm just thinking through this, and it seems really inefficient to do this, like, programmatically speaking, like processor-wise, like the number of things we're asking the program to do. Oh, we're missing something. What are we missing? Parentheses. So this is in no way the best way to do this, but it's just a quick and easy way to do it. It works. It will reset the Y position to 0. Unfortunately, it will test all 50 of these objects with this if statement every single time, regardless of whether we really need to be testing it or not. And that's kind of bad. It's kind of bad, but, you know, such is life. The other thing we could do is that we could create some value that will automatically reset all the rain after a certain number of loops, so that we don't have to use an if statement. It will just automatically reset the rain back to 0 after a certain number of times. That's actually interesting. Oh, we can play around with that later. All right, so here we wrote this code. We have ellipse, x position, y position, and then okay. So this should work. Y position is not defined. Oh, sorry, Y positions. See, I don't like when... Okay, here we go. So with this if statement here, which we put in this for loop, we have successfully created a loop, a rain loop. And the only problem is that you can see that this wave of rain is just repeating, and it's not randomly resetting. It's always the same. The only thing that's happening is that yeah, so it's not randomly resetting each time. So I guess we could put this for loop inside here. Oh, wow. Okay, that was not what we wanted. Because it's just calling it a million times and then freezing. Wow, okay, so that was wrong. We don't want that. Whew. So that was a fun break of the code. So, okay, I guess we can't do that because that was an infinity loop, right? Oh no, it wasn't an infinity loop, it just was called many times because it keeps calling the draw function, right? Okay. So I guess we have to have it outside of the function, the draw function. So, I don't know, is there a way to change this? Ah, I had an idea. So whenever the rain resets, whenever the rain is, their y position is larger than 400, which is the bottom of the screen, this if statement will reset the y position to 0. So we could also reset the x position. So x positions at index I is equal to and this is reassigning the element, by the way, just so you know, random low and high. So I guess we'll do the 0 and 400 again. Okay, so this will, this is perfect. This will, each time we reset the y position, we give it a new starting x position, so that each time the rain is falling, its x position gets reset. So one of the things you can do right now is to say, hey, like, how many how many raindrops can this program really handle right now. So we'll do like 300, and then we'll do like 1,000, 10,000. Okay, so that's just like a wall of rain. Okay, so let's simulate some foreground and background things, and with some rain speed. And so we have this rain speed array, it's empty, and when we create our raindrops initially, we want to give them a random rain speed. So we do rain speed.push random 10, 35. And then instead of just adding 5, it's going to add rain speed. The rain speed. Okay, so this works. It's interesting. The rain's falling a little aggressively, but you know, we can slow it down a little bit if we want. Here we go. So after a few waves, the random speed of the raindrops and the X position being reset, the Y position being reset, results in this cool effect of a constant stream of raindrops. And here we have 100 raindrops, and you know, the speed varies between 10 and 15, and this works pretty well in creating our like simulation of rain. It's a little jerky, it's a little bit laggy, but you know, it looks not bad. The other thing we could do is set the size of the raindrop differently based on its rain speed, because like it's simulating foreground and background, and you know, the smaller raindrops are farther away. So that's something we could do, where we could make the size of the raindrop dependent on the rain speed itself, because it's somewhere between 10 and 15, and then the larger the rain speed, the smaller the raindrop that we want. So we could do rain speed I as the divisor, and then we'll just have 100 and we'll divide it. Oh, we have an extra parentheses. So in this case, the slower raindrops are smaller, and the faster raindrops are larger, because there's an inverse correlation between speed and size. Oh wait, did we mess this up? Larger speed equals smaller raindrop. That's not what we want. If it's slower, it needs to be smaller. Okay. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, so the slower the raindrop, the smaller it is, and that's to simulate like foreground and background in some sense. I don't really know if that's scientifically accurate, but it leads to a nice effect. We have the variations in rain speed, and we also have some variations in raindrop size, which gives us the foreground and background effect. And the faster raindrops are larger, and they're going by pretty quickly. All right. So what are some other things that we can do to this array? Oh, using a conditional or modulo operator. That's just finding the remainder. A conditional statement is an if statement, I believe. So we did that. We added more drops to the arrays, and we did it pretty easily so that we could just change one value here, and we can turn that value into a variable that we'll call raindrop number. We'll set it equal to 0 first. I guess we'll set it to equal to 100. And then we'll call it in here raindrop number. Or I guess we can say raindrop amount. I don't know if I spelled that right. Is amount spelled with 2 M's or 1 M? No, just 1 M. Okay. Cool, so we put this little variable here. And so all we have to do to change our number of raindrops is to change this variable right here. And wow, that actually looks pretty good. A little bit jerky. Looks pretty cool. Bonus. We could make an array of colors so every drop is a different color. So yeah, you can change the different variables here, the range, the range right here. You change any of these numbers, the range of these random values, it will result in different outcomes. You could even restrict the rain to one side of the screen. Ah, but then it gets reset by random. Very interesting. So processing.js is just running this draw function repeatedly. And this draw function is looping through these arrays and drawing the little blue circles that we've set up, according to how we've set up how we want these little blue circles to be drawn. It's using the ellipse function, which takes the x position, y position, and then this is setting the size of the raindrop. And then this is moving the raindrop down the screen with a rain speed. I think we should probably set this to 5 to 10. It will be less jerky. But it does make the rain rather small. So we'll increase this value. Okay, well, there you have it, folks. This is pretty much all you need to solve this project. You can continue tinkering around with this, adding features as much as you want. You can even create a more complex raindrop shape. Instead of just an ellipse, you could create more of a raindrop shape. The other thing you can easily do is you can make an array of colors so that every drop is a different color, or an array of speeds. We already did this array of speeds. So let's do the colors array. So we'll call it rain colors. Empty array. Oh, this is gonna be crazy. I'll think about how to do this and tinker around with it, and maybe I'll make a follow-up video on making the raindrops different colors in various ways. But yeah, that's pretty much it. My code will be pasted in the description section if you want to take a look at it. Like I said, this code probably has a whole bunch of room for optimization and improvement. This is just a simple project to practice thinking and using, thinking about and using arrays and looping through arrays, or as we say, iterating through arrays. And eventually, something like this would probably be better done with different types of functions using objects, most likely. And also in the later sections, the natural simulations sections of Khan Academy, I'm sure they go over how to better simulate natural phenomena like rain. But yeah, here was my attempt at solving this just briefly. If you were stuck, and hope you have a good rest of the Intro to JavaScript Drawing and Animation section.